What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of Roman's Creative Academy. Like always, I'm Jay,
And I'm Mike.
and today we're going to talk about what if you don't want to buy that creative deal that you locked up, or you're just afraid to lock it up because you're not sure. So now what?
Exactly. That's where in this episode, really what we're going to be talking about mainly is dispositions, right? So many of you don't recognize that wholesaling is a form of dispositions that you can use coupled with creative financing, right? We discovered this when we first started. We obviously couldn't keep all of our deals. One, we didn't have the capacity, we didn't have the funds or the knowledge to deal with all of these properties that we were going to be keeping ourselves. But we didn't want to not help the seller out, and we also didn't want to not let them go to waste. We were trying to run a business and start a business, right? So how do we monetize them? And that's where wholesaling and assigning these deals came in.
And of course, on my end, the scary part comes in of, hey, what does this mean for them? How do we find credible buyers, right? How do we vet them? How do we make sure that they're going to make these payments for these sellers?
Absolutely.
So, we're going to talk about number 1, what is wholesaling off the bat? Because some of you may not know. Number 2, what to ask a creative buyer to gauge their, like I said, credentials. And number 3, what are 3 places you can go to find some creative buyers and vet them?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, what is wholesaling, right? And before we even dive in, wholesaling a creative deal, you as the middleman, which we're going to get into what all of this is, you need to be extra cautious. Wholesaling creative deals is not for newbies, right? This is something where if you are looking to go this route, you should definitely look into education first. And I just wanted to say that up front because of what we're about to get into, you'll recognize and understand why that's very important. So what is wholesaling in a nutshell? Wholesaling is when you as an individual go to a seller and you guys agree on price, you guys agree on something where they're going to sell you the house, right? What you do now is instead of you buying the house and closing on it, you turn around and you find an investor who is looking for a good deal, but doesn't like to put in the work or have the time to go and find their own. So what you do is you sell the paper or you assign the rights of the contract to somebody else for what we call a finder's fee, right? A finder's fee can range anywhere from $2,000 or $1,000 as high as a few $100,000, right? It could be as much as you want as long as the deal makes sense for that buyer, for that investor, and the seller gets what they need out of it.
Another term that's used for finder's fee is assignment fee. So just a little tidbit there, because those two terms are loosely thrown around.
And they're the same thing, right? So it's very similar to a realtor's commission, except the difference is with a realtor's commission, they are going to market the house and they are going to try and find somebody, right? With assignment, we have the rights to purchase the home ourselves. Because it's not something we may be interested in or we disclose to the seller that we are going to try and find them a buyer, right? There's no fees to them. The buyer pays us all of the fees that are going to be associated. And then we go out and we market it and we find a buyer who wants to buy us out of the deal with an assignment fee.
So at that point, Mike, what do we ask creative buyers who are interested in the house that we have under contract?
Absolutely. So when it comes to a creative buyer, it's very different than having a cash buyer or a cash deal, right? Why do we say that? A cash deal is very simple. A cash deal comes down to you find a house, you offer a seller a price, they get their price, you go out and you mark that price up to somebody else, and all they have to do is bring cash to the table and it's done. The relationship with the house and the seller is over, and now that buyer is the new owner. With a creative deal, it's extremely important for us to do our due diligence for multiple reasons, and there's many questions that we ask. When it comes to a cash deal, all we're asking our buyers is, can you send me proof of funds? Are you closing with cash or hard money? And can you send me all of your LLC documents? Other than that, that's it, right? We don't need to go too much into detail. For our creative buyers, we go very deep because they're going to be in a relationship with the seller. The seller reached out to us because they trust us and the abilities that we have. Well, if we're not going to be the buyer, we need to do right by the seller and find a buyer who will also do right by them and maintain that relationship and not hurt the seller's credit, integrity, their finances in any way moving forward. So what are some of the main things that we ask our creative buyers? First and foremost, have you ever done a creative financing deal? If it's a wraparound mortgage, a mirror wrap, a seller financing deal, have you done one? No or yes? Typically when a buyer says no, it's not that we don't want to work with them. We just know that there is a lot of different things that can go wrong. And unfortunately, we are not really looking to be that learning curve for this buyer because a learning curve will only hurt the seller. It will not hurt me and Jay.
Tidbit there. There's a certain way to set up your insurance. There's certain paperwork that's needed that we teach our students. If you want to be a creative buyer, whether you are sourcing your own leads or not, that you should know. That's why sometimes when first-time creative buyers come to us, like Mike said, it's not that we're not going to work with you, but we aren't here to teach you these things.
Yep. And unfortunately, if we're not here to teach you and you don't know them, that's where things can get tricky. Mm-hmm. We do set you up. We have a full team behind us that will set you up for total success on the day of closing. You will get everything that you need, all the disclosures, paperwork, but all the intricacies, the in and outs, we are not going to be there to hold your hand. That's not our job in the process, right? What are some other things that we ask our creative buyers? The entry fee. We'll need proof of funds, whether it's a screenshot of a bank statement, an available amount that's open in a line of credit. What does that look like? Are you using raw cash to close? Are you using a private lender? Or are you using some other form that is a little bit more unconventional?
But you're probably like, Mike, Jay, I thought you don't need much money to close a creative deal. You still need money to close creative deals. You still need those closing costs. Sometimes
the low money down ones we keep. So if you want to buy from us, you'll need some.
Obviously, you need to pay an assignment fee when you are working with a wholesaler. So yes, you will need some money to purchase these creative deals if you're going to be getting them from wholesalers.
Yep. Now, if there's a private lender involved, that I go down another hole. Okay, no problem. You have a private lender. I'm going to need to speak with that lender if we decide to move forward. I need to make sure that the lender is on the same page, that the EMD is non-refundable. They understand the type of deal it is. I cannot trust the buyer to go and do that unless we have that relationship with them. If we have that relationship, they're considered a VIP buyer, and we'll get into how you could become one moving forward.
Yep. And then the third question, which I think is the most important question to ask a creative buyer, is can you produce LLC documents, but not only your articles of incorporation or the paper that gets filed with the state, but also your operating agreement completely, utterly executed, right? And an operating agreement, I have to do it, is just something that outlines who does what within the LLC and if there's only one member or multiple members.
Jay may have one opinion. She may think that's the most important. Personally, I think the fourth one is the most important, was can you send me an executed settlement sheet or HUD showing that you bought a creative deal in the past? If you say that you have bought one, I need to show proof. This is only for the first time we are working together. After you successfully close a deal with me and Jay without having any problems, and you're a clean buyer, we call it, you immediately are somebody that we will not have to vet like this ever again, right? So that is just something that we wanted to bring up. But for you guys who are doing creative deals and you're looking to assign them, these are the 4 main questions that you ask. And lastly, what are 3 places that we find our creative buyers that you can as well? Obviously, number 1 being Facebook. We love Facebook. We run our whole business through it. We honestly find 99.9% of our buyers through Facebook, through different groups, through our personal pages, through going live and posting stories about what it is that we have and how people can get in contact with us. The second is other investors. So we have a couple of deals that we're working on right now where we didn't have a buyer for it, and we were spinning our wheels trying to find one, and we had a buddy who was an investor and was like, Mike, Jay, I have one. So it's called JVing, joint venture. So we team up with the other investor. They bring the buyer, we bring the deal, we split the proceeds, right?
And most of the time, these people are people that can vouch for their buyers, which makes our life a little bit easier, right?
Absolutely. And then lastly is our VIP buyers list. How did we get our VIP buyers list, and where did these people come from? First and foremost, if you want to join our VIP buyers list, we can put the link below, or you can reach out to us. Obviously, not everybody can get on the VIP buyers list. There's some questions we need to ask and some things that we'll need. Regardless, our VIP buyers is a list of a few hundred people of different investors that we have worked with, right? Typically, the main way that you get on our VIP buyers list, and if you want to create your own VIP buyers list, is by putting clean buyers in there. So when you blast out your deals, you know exactly who it's going to. And if any one of those people reach out and say, I want it, they get first pick over anybody else. And those buyers that we have on our VIP list have come from many different sources. Some of them being local meetup groups, some of them being networking events, Facebook, Instagram, the list just goes on, right? And that's how we've built successfully a buyer's list, where we pretty much can put out our deals in specific different locations, and we typically know who is going to buy it as long as the numbers fit the criteria that we know they want.
So if you're interested, like Mike said, check the link below or reach out to us. We'd love to start that relationship with you, because as wholesalers, yes, we're providing you a service, but you are also in working with us on getting these deals to the finish line. So it's a relationship that we are 1000% happy to get started with anyone who's interested. But that concludes everything that I have to say. Do you have anything else?
No, all I would say is if you guys are looking to start to get into this and assign creative deals, which is something that's going to be happening more and more, you're going to see it everywhere, we advise you to get education first. The seller is trusting in you to make a good decision with, most of the time, their credit if it's a wrap deal, right? And that can ruin somebody's life if you put it in the wrong person's hands. And yes, there are people out there who say they're buyers with malintent going into it. And that is something that I want you guys to watch out for. And how do you avoid it? It's by getting education, right?
Woof. Instilling fear in them already.
I keep it 100 with you guys.
Yes, we do. But that is the name of the game. If you guys have any more questions, drop them in the comments. We'd be happy to get them answered, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good one.
See ya.